A round of applause. And yeah, I'm a filmmaker based in New York and really enjoy telling kind of subversive stories that at first you might think are kind of comedic, maybe silly, a little off kilter, that then bring you a little more serious as the journey comes on, still laughing, maybe sometimes when you shouldn't, and unpacking, I think in this story, Henry to Cat, that sense of loss and grief that we've all experienced in our lives, whether that be for a loved one or a companion, or anything in between, and just figuring out through your own timetable when it's time to move on and doing what you gotta do, even if sometimes that's just locking the monster in the basement.
Hello, my name is Andre Zucker. I am the writer, director of Death and Sandwiches, the second film you saw. The reason I made it actually came from a series of serendipitous things that happened. I wrote that script pre-pandemic, and then it started to take on a lot of different meanings with the pandemic happening. So I'm a high school teacher actually. So I was teaching an after-school club, and we had this amazing volunteer, and she's an actress in film. I said, I have the script lying around. If you want some content, we could do it. And then it kind of just started growing and growing from there until it became what you saw on the screen.
I'm Amir Shah, the writer, director, producer, and executive producer of Are You Amir Shah #4. The first 3 episodes are on YouTube. I filmed them during the COVID pandemic. When I decided to produce and finance 4, I wanted to do something riveting. The first 3 episodes, it's like you take a camera and you shoot for 4 or 5 minutes and throw it on YouTube and that's it. For episode 4, it pretty much asks the question, what is your one-way ticket to Hollywood? How do you get on TV? What do you do when you go to a casting? What do you do if you get rejected? When you turn on the TV and you watch the Super Bowl, you see a Chantix commercial to help you stop smoking cigarettes. You see an Applebee's commercial, McDonald's commercial. So you see all these commercials on television. The series basically says, I'm broke, bankrupt, borderline homeless. My wife's going to divorce me. I speak 6 languages. What the hell can I possibly do to become a Hollywood star? What is going to break or make me? And I wanted to do an over-analytical deconstruction and construction of television and the Hollywood system, and why you even go to a casting to be an actor in the first place.
Hello, is working? Yes. Hi, my name is Mariella Spagnolo. I am the writer, co-producer, and actor in Desperately Seek and Seek. Actually, that is a scene taken from my feature script that I wrote last year. And we're using this as a marketing tool, proof of concept, hopefully to encourage investors perhaps and individuals that like to be part of the project. I was listening to a preacher the other day and he said 2 interesting things. Out of pain comes purpose, out of difficulties come destiny. Maybe this is my destiny to be up here. It was a difficult time in my life when I wrote this script. I became interested in Bollywood, then moved into Pollywood, then moved into Punjabi culture, Sikh religion, befriended many Punjabi Sikhs, learned something. The whole purpose of this project is to educate people. I hope people will walk away. You don't have to say it was the best acting, the best writing, the best production, the best editing. You could say, I learned something today. So when you see perhaps a gentleman walking around wearing a turban, you know why. Thank you.
One more question. Tell me about the production, post-production. How long was the process?
All right, I will
How difficult was
kick it off once again. Sorry, I'm just a little strained. Can you put it up just a touch?
You're good.
Okay, sorry. Maybe it's just I feel like
You're good.
Okay, so I had some friends that we were hoping to put together some projects moving forward as young filmmakers in the New York City area. We a lot of times have to create rather than wait, and I think that's what some of you guys put earlier. There's a lot of, in this industry, needing to kind of go out and create it. So I've had the pleasure of a lot of people that worked on this project being people that I've worked with on professional sets in the New York area. You know, maybe we're down here on the totem pole of city filmmaking and politics, but there's a lot of talent. And I think we find that talent when we intentionally pay attention to the people in front of us. So these are some people that I somehow tricked into doing on their weekend in the pouring rain, staying outside for like 14-hour days, and I'll give you $200 and my dad will make lasagna. And that's like what is the blood of, I think, young filmmaking, is a banding together. And I think we all bring experience to the table and a freshness, and we're learning, I think, how to make things. I've already, I think, talked about how to do it better 10 times. We started production, I wrote this in February, storyboarded it around then, pitched it to some friends that have some, small financing. And then we were in production for filming for 3 days in March, April, sometime, and then only weekend it rained. Only weekend, it always happens, right? So we did that. And then same for pre-production and production, found some talented people who are passionate about some sound mixing. Our score is just phenomenal, local filmmakers, and now we're really putting it into this festival run to bring insight and put a spotlight on our local community. So also some talented, I just want to give Henry and Christine a shout out, Henry and Jackie today. She's the one that she made that print. All right.
Hey, so I guess the pre-production process of this is, again, a very strange story. Like I said, I'm a high school special education teacher at MLK on 68th Street. And during the pandemic, we had a lot of extra funding. So I proposed to my principal to start a film program. I just love film and love making films. And so we, by some miracle, I said we needed $15,000, which is the exact amount of money in the Department of Education that you don't need superintendent approval for. I don't know how this happened. And things were so bad, this was right after Omicron ended, that my principal said, if you make 2 or 3 students happy, it's worth $15,000 because this is terrible. Turned out the film program got a little bigger than we expected, and considering I had no film education of any kind, I had to wake up at 5 in the morning, watch YouTube videos, and then teach it at 3 o'clock. So it was a little bit of an intense process. As the whole thing grew, we were helped out by Stella Adler, and they participated in our film program. We also got extra money, so we were able to buy a second camera, a couple more lenses, things like that. And, Hawk, her name's Paige, I call her Hawk. I gave her the script. She loved it, and I'm like, if you were good to my students, I'm going to do anything for you. So I'm going to direct this thing. I'm going to make this thing happen. And she's like, okay, call this guy and this guy. So one guy was the DP, Javi, and the other was Ariel, the actor. And Ariel had just come through a whole other thing, and this was the first time he had acted in 5 years. He stopped during the pandemic. the whole thing is shot pretty much about 3 or 4 minutes from my apartment in Greenpoint. So like the place, the restaurant is the place I go for coffee. Yeah, it's pretty, no one knows about that. Neat, I'm sure we'll call it. So, you know, the extras are pretty much the other teachers from the school and friends. We called the production company Sped Department Films. Sped Department is short in education for Special Education Department. And we figured we're the only production company run out of a special education department in high school, so we named ourselves after that. One of my graduates, Manny over there, Emmanuel Gonzalez, he did the sound. Currently a film student at LaGuardia Community College, which I apologize to him for every time I see him. I'm sorry I got you into this cult, you know, into this drag, it's awful. And then went and edited the whole thing in Spain and handed it off in Barcelona to a sound mixer. And that is pretty much the beginning, middle, and end of this process.
So pre-production on episode 4, I did all the editing, 3 to 7 hours a day for over a month, like a complete mad scientist in my room, sleep deprived, taking naps, and more sleep deprivation, and taking more naps, and over and over and over again. The first 3 episodes were shot on a budget of $6. I dropped $4,000 on the 4th episode, and when the actors in Miami, I was editing this in Florida, were telling me, when are you going to submit this to the film festivals? When are you going to submit this? And I say, it's not done. It's not done. It's not done. It's not done until I say it's done. Because a lot of the ideas that came to me came from sleep, or sleep deprivation, or staying up. Ideas that came to me out of nowhere. And 90% of what I shot wasn't even in the script. It just came to me. Images in the subconscious. I follow that from my icon, David Lynch. I don't know how many of you are familiar with him, the director of Blue Velvet, Mulholland Drive. Ideas come from the subconscious, the universe. When you sleep, they come to you. And that's how episode 4 came to creation. I managed to give birth to something pretty, I don't know if I would say controversial, provocative, shocking, but all those 3 elements is to make the audience think just a little bit harder or laugh. But pre-production on this was the most mentally frustrating and overwhelming thing I've ever edited on a MacBook Pro. And towards the very end, and I told the 19 actors in Miami, it's now done. Now I'm submitting it because I have made the point that I wanted to make in this. I have to give you a card. I have this card. Are you your series? You can watch it on YouTube. I have it. I'll give you. I have a few cards. Yeah.
Next.
Hi guys. Just to reiterate what you saw in the film. So I'm a professor at Bergen Community College. I teach in hospitality management. I'm a consultant. So filmmaker is a new thing for me. Actor, I've been doing acting already a little bit here and there when I was a kid, and then a couple of years ago got back into it. Like I said, I wrote this script over a year ago. It went through the film festival circuits. I have a friend who's a Punjabi Sikh. He invited me to his birthday party last December, and I wound up talking to his father. You may have seen him if you remember the BTS. His name is Satinder Singh, and he was sitting down at the table, and he said to me, "Oh, I always wanted to make a film about the science of Sikhism." And I said, "Oh, it's interesting because I just wrote a project, 86-page script about the principles of Sikhism and Punjabi culture." He's like, "Oh my God, you did what I've been thinking about for years." And then I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Well, we're going to make that film." I'm like, "We are?" And then he's like, "Yes, we are." So then we kept in touch over the last couple of months, and to make feature project we needed a big budget, and we came up with the idea to do a proof of concept. And that was about April. I went to pitch the idea to a local production company. They really liked the pitch, and I just giving a little bit of background. I come from corporate. We used to do PowerPoint presentations, so everything in my life before this point has helped me. Whether it's knowing Microsoft PowerPoint and Word and all these elements you have to use in different ways, and it may help you in the future. For example, presentation, presenting, I learned that in corporate. So because of how good the presentation was, the production company said, oh, we're gonna do the editing for free, because they were so impressed by the presentation that I gave. It had nothing to do with, it had something to do with the project, of course, but the overall, how I pitched the project. So we just reached out to friends, did a little grassroots fundraising, came up with a budget of $5,000. I took that scene in the script, it's right in the middle, because I thought that people would get an idea of what is happening there. Maybe not what happened before, maybe not what happened after, but what is happening. And we did it one day. We did my apartment as the location, and I wanted an all-inclusive team, which meant professionals, students, interns, so we had them all come on board. My dad did the cooking. He made pasta. He didn't make lasagna. And we did the filming on July 30th. The editor, who's also a teacher of film, she was finishing the whole month of August her teaching project, so we got together early September, and in 3 weeks, boom, 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 edited, boom, to the film festivals, and here I am sitting here today. Thank you.
Let's get to questions for any filmmakers. Anyone that you choose, please. Questions? Please.
You say you're a teacher,
Yes.
and this is your first film. How do you feel about doing more films, or is this going to be it for you?
Oh, so it's not my first film. It's my first film at the capacity that this film was made at. So it was an enjoyable experience to do this, and definitely the team behind it, the DP especially and the actress especially, really wanted to do the next one. So we just had our first table read of the next script. We're planning to shoot in April. Everything's kind of mapped out, and we're casting it and kind of just doing all those nuts and bolts very early, storyboarding it a little bit earlier, because although maybe you see it, maybe you don't, but there's some storyboarding mistakes that happened that made editing a lot harder. So I always tell my students, every step of production is preparing for the next step. So pre-production makes production easier, production makes editing easier. Good editing makes watching easier. So yeah, the next one is coming up, and then there's always like little bitsy documentaries, things like that, because we have constant access to the equipment. So we have everything we need all the time to make anything. So we do one student film a year that is, I'm actually not allowed to show you because of regulations on minors and their privacy. And then we do one for the staff, which is this one, and hopefully the next one. But also on top of that, we're doing a documentary right now about the fact that when people graduate high school, if they are undocumented, they lose their student visa. So if you graduate high school and don't go to college, which is a lot of my students, you will lose your immigration status, and you cannot apply for DACA. So that's the next thing that we're working on, just as a documentary, before we do the next narrative, which is also based on immigrant children.
One more question, guys. Last question. Yes. Go ahead.
For Amir, I noticed you had a lot of like sound distortion in your film, like a lot of like blowing it out or like overlapping. I was curious, was that like stylistic thing? Does it tie in like theme or anything?
I wanted to make it like a 1965, 1970s redneck, broken overcharged radio blasting your ears. I did that on purpose, is to make the visualness of the 60s, the 70s, like a broken down southern home, like you're back in John F. Kennedy era, sort of.
So everyone, round of applause for